Hello Degens. Astra is really interesting because it's really easy to overcomplicate her. At the same time though, she does seem really easy to play, but there are actually so many nuances and complexities that comes out of her kit. So in this video, let's walk through Astra. These are the topics that we are going to cover. There is a lot, so let's just get right into it. Alright, let's start off with her mechanics. Basic attack 1, basic 2, basic 3. Nothing remarkable, right? But what we do have is actually a hold attack, which does a Sucky. You see that vortex, right? Now this Sucky brings me to my first point. And it's that depending on your team, and with good positioning, you generally won't need to actually use the Sucky. Most limited S-rank characters, Yanagi, Bernice, Miyabi, Qingyi, Jane, even Ellen, you will be able to position them in a way that lets you destroy all of the mobs at once because of their massive AoE, or maybe they do actually have an inherent suck built into the DPS. That said though, there is one character that I am worried about, and it's Yuan, who does still have a pretty big AoE because the grouping that Nicole has provided since the start of the game has been pretty freaking good for Yuan to just kind of cleave and blast them all away. That said though, basic attack hold is one of two sucks. The second suck is actually the hold E skill. And so let me just demonstrate that right now. And this is actually the one that I would recommend using. If you really need to use a suck, use the hold E. And the reason is because after the hold E, it will actually place you back into the singing state. As you can see, she's singing. But if you use the hold basic attack version, which is this one over here, you'll notice that she doesn't actually get put back into idyllic state. And so TLDR, if you have to suck them off, just use the hold skill, don't use the hold basic attack. Alright, so next is the chord system up here. There are 4 stacks in total. TLDR, each stack represents about 25 energy. If we have 100 energy, that's the full bar. These stacks pretty much represents your energy. And so as most of you are probably aware by now, we are in non-singing state. We can move around and stuff. We just click the skill button, boom, and we go into singing state. We are now glowing up here. We are now, again, singing. And so when you hit the skill to go into the singing state, she pretty much stays in it forever, and you want to stay in it forever because whilst she's in this state, your entire team gets plus 20% damage and plus 25% crit rate. And so what that means is that if you do something like hold basic attack and you are not in this state and you like switch out into Ellen, you can see our Astra is not glowing. You don't have the plus 20% damage, the plus 25% crit damage buffs. That is why this hold attack thing is actually reasonably dangerous. So again, just use the hold E. All right, and so when we're in the singing state, we're pretty much going to play a 2-character team, right? It's going to be Ellen swapping into like Corin, swapping back into Ellen after 3 seconds. We just hit a few times, we've got Ellen again, and then we're going to hit a few times, we're going to do some stuff, and we're back into like Corin. And so in summary, what's happening is that we're getting these blue quick assists, and every time we trigger that quick assist, you can see they took some damage. It's a tremolo for the big ones, and it's the tone clusters for the little ones. So I'm gonna hit him one more time and do that, and you can see boom, 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 right? It's a big one, and then 3 small ones, and then another big one, and then 3 small ones again. So again, that happens every time you use the blue quick assist. So let's do that again, boom, boom, boom. But on top of that, what we also get every time we get the quick assist is this bad boy up here, which is what we really want, right? And if I come over to effect details, bam, increase attack by 1.2k. So just know that the attack buff is actually tied to the quick assist, which means that you do need to then be quick assisting between the different characters to make sure that everyone has the attack buff. All right, so what does all of this mean? Because to be honest, that was a lot, and there are actually some pretty massive implications to each part. And so the first thing I want to talk about is her staying on the field like this over here. When she's in this singing state, she actually counts as an on-field unit, which is both good and bad, right? Because the good part is that her tremolos and her tone clusters, they can actually proc corruption. All right, so I've got Homeboy almost in corruption. I'm going to switch into a different character, and then I'm going to proc tremolo, and hopefully you can see, boom, corruption right there. It's because she is counted as an on-field character. And it works in a similar way to Bernice's skill, where the enemy gets a burn mark. You can see that one over there. We switch and we can hit, and Homeboy is taking fire damage. You can see he also got burnt. A very similar system. Now that's actually fantastic. However, what it means is that there is now more nuance to what actually works on Astra and what doesn't. Because the downside to being an on-field character means specifically she cannot use Weeping Cradle's first effect over here. While off-field, the equipper's energy regen increases by 0.6 per second. So what I'm saying is that this bad boy doesn't actually work for Astra when she's in her singing mode. Yes, technically we're controlling a different active character when we swap into Ellen, when we swap into Miyabi. However, she is technically still on field, so this is not going to work. So with that in mind, next time when you come across a new effect that says something specifically on field or off field, you can probably guess the interaction. All right, and so now I want to circle back to the Astra corruption, the fact that she can on-field proc corruption, because what you can actually do to take advantage of the fact that Astra can proc corruption on field is to take a Nicole with her equipment looking like this. We got the Freedom Blues coming out. Freedom Blues, remember this bad boy, when the EX special attack hits, Anomaly build up resistance to the equipper's attribute decreases by 20%, which means that we inflict corruption faster. And considering Ether as well as Ether, we're going to be proccing a lot of corruption. Now, the reason why this is so good is because when you combine all of that with Miyabi, then what you have is Miyabi applying Frost Burn and then building those stacks up. But then on the other hand, we've got Nicole as well as Astra, who are both contributing to the corruption buildup and then popping that corruption so that Miyabi can then get another Frost Burn stack off again. Get big disorders, we've got massive defense down because of Nicole, we've got all the attack buffs and all of that from Astra. It absolutely destroys everything. Now, Miyabi isn't the only one that you can use this with, you can actually pull it off with any Anomaly character. And it's for the exact same reason, right? Because you can Anomaly like Assault or Burn or Shock or whatever, and then Corruption to trigger the disorder. Now, for this specific setup, for my Nicole, I actually threw on an Anomaly Mastery Disc 6, so it would help build the corruption faster. Again, 4-piece Freedom Blues, so that corruption goes faster generally for everyone, for both her and Astra. And then we've got a 2-piece Swing Jazz just to make it so that she gets more EX skills more frequently, so that she can proc this Freedom Blues more frequently. All right, and so the next thing I want to talk about is this 2-character playstyle, because when Astra is on the field and when you intuitively play her without like any guidance or anything, you pretty much just swap between 2 characters, right? So in this case, we'll be swapping between Koleda as well as Yuan, because we're getting those quick assists coming up, and so we just keep swapping between the 2, and we pretty much never go into Astra. To that I say, that's actually okay. To be quite frank, there is the way that the devs probably intended for us to play her, which is exactly like that. Just quick swapping between the 2 characters, and then there's also the sweaty way of doing things. Personally, I'm going to recommend just playing her in the simpler way, in the way that you are feeling is intuitive. And so what exactly that involves is we go into battle. First thing you do, Astra tap E so that we get all of those big buffs. But then after that, what we do need to do is trigger our quick assists 3 times as fast as possible. And the reason for this is that your Astra is using Astral Voice 4-piece set, in which we need to trigger 3 quick assists to stack 3 times to get 8% per stack, 8% extra damage, for a total of 24% damage. Now, after you've done your 3 quick assists, then you can kind of chill, because Astral Voice's duration is 15 seconds. And then on top of that, the 1.2k attack buff, the duration of that is 20 seconds, which means we don't have to refresh the buff that often, which means we don't actually have to take every single quick assist that comes to us via Astra. So then after the setup phase, we then go into kind of like the general mode, right? And here's where things get a little more complex. So again, I just want to reiterate, you do not have to take every single quick assist that pops up. And one example of this is Yuan, Stunner, I'm going to use Koleda, and Astra. So for this team, we generally want to stay in the stunner for longer so that we can push the enemy into stun mode so that Yuan can get her bonus 40-80% damage. And so when that Yuan quick assist pops up, you don't have to take it. That said though, one reason why you would take those quick assists are to replenish Yuan's stacks as you're building up the stun gauge, so that when you do push the enemy into stun, your Yuan will be ready to unload with full stacks. Another interaction is with those who can skip into their basic 3-4-5s. And for those of you who are newer to Zenless, 3-4-5, basic 3-4-5 in the chain, this is usually where most of the damage is loaded for DPSs, actually for everyone. And so the first example I've got for that is Nagi. And so as you can see, when we get the blue assist, boom, 3, 4, 5. And then we can actually continue the combo from there. However, somebody that really benefits from this 3-4-5 is actually Corin, because so much damage is actually loaded into her basic 3-4-5. So let's do it. We're gonna swap in Corin, hold, and then boom, and then 5, right? Normally, we actually would have to go through 1, 2, and then 3, 4, And then 5. You can see how long the chain actually is. So yeah, Corin is a major benefactor from the quick assists. Now, there is actually one more very specific interaction I wanted to call out, and that interaction is for Ellen. So let me show you what happens when you quick assist with Ellen. Let me tap it and we can see she does the fast swap in snip. However, there is actually a really good follow-up move immediately after that quick assist, and I'll show you what that is. So let's get the quick assist. So snip, and then go into a sprint, and then a fast snip. And that is going to get us those 3 stacks for those enhanced basic attacks. Now, let me show you again. I'm going to proc the quick assist. She's going to come in, boom, and then I'm going to do the dash into a fast snip. And the reason why this is so good is because most of Ellen's damage is actually loaded into these stacks over here. And having those quick assists lets us do a faster charge, which means at the end of the day, more damage for her. All right, and so that's the quick assist side of things. Then we've got her ultimate. And so Astra's ultimate, what it does is it plays a song for us in the background, which is really nice. But also, our next 2 quick assists turn into chain attacks. And so what you're going to see are people going, oh, you should use both of your chain attacks on your DPS. So in this case, we should try to do our chain attacks both with Ellen. And so I'm going to proc that and then chain attack with Ellen. You can see. And then what I should do is I should switch out into someone else and then proc it again. So I get 2 chain attacks with Ellen. That's the sweaty way of playing. My take on this one is that just take the quick assists with whoever. So in this case, maybe we take it with Nicole first to get that defense down, and then we take it with our Ellen immediately after. There are a couple of reasons why. The first is if you're running a double support team, very much like this with Nicole, or it could be Rina, or it could be Lucy, whoever. So let's take Sokaku for example, ice support. You can see she's running a 4-piece set of swing jazz. And what you'll see is that the activation condition for swing jazz to get plus 15% damage for everyone is to use a chain attack or ultimate. Which means that if we use the chain attack with our Sokaku with swing jazz or our Rina with swing jazz or whatever, then we'll get this plus 15% damage. And so another case is when we're running an attacker who is known for their burst, like Yuan, but also like our upcoming Evelyn. And in these cases, we usually pair them with a stunner. So absolutely, we want to be able to chain attack whatever, but also chain attack with our stunner as well to push them towards that stun faster so we can get into that burst window for our Julian to then go boom, 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 unload all of her load. All of that to say, it's okay to take chain attacks on both of the characters. You don't have to force them both into your DPS only. All right, and so in regards to stat priorities, I'm going to keep this short. You can see the orange, we're looking for attack and energy regen. These are truly the only 2 things that matter. Energy regen so that we can get more quick assists. Remember, each of those stacks, those 4 notes, they represent energy. The other thing though is that 1.2k attack buff. And to be able to get 1.2k attack for core skill F at max, we need 3428 attack. And so what I did is, because I'm Povo, Kaboom goes in first. We've got energy regen, we've got attack. This is the perfect W engine for our Astra. Then after that, I'm using a 4-piece Astral voice set, which is a given. This set was made for Astra. And then a 2-piece Hormone Punk for the attack 10% bonus. Slot 4, attack percentage with flat attack if possible. Slot 5, exactly the same thing. 30% attack, flat attack as well. And then slot 6, I've got energy regen with double attack stats. Again, the only thing that really matters is attack, attack, attack. All right, and so here is where we start having to look at options, right? Because you may not be able to hit that 3428 threshold. You might have to actually swap some pieces around. And so what's cool here is that we have a bunch of different levers. This guy, energy regen 60%, can actually turn into an attack 30% piece for disc 6. So this could have been like one of these discs, attack plus 30% to help you hit that 3428. Another thing you could do is swap this energy regen weapon into one that gives attack. So Bashful Demon is an option. I would strongly recommend trying to hit the good substats on these discs and using the Hormone Punk to get that extra attack so that you can push to that 3428 without having to sacrifice the Kaboom. Kaboom is just so freaking good here. But then we have the other side of things, because if you pulled for Astra's signature weapon, there is a pretty good chance that you actually might overcap on attack, in which you can then start swapping other things out. We've got the Hormone Punk giving attack percentage. Well, in that case, why don't we use Swing Jazz instead? We'd be looking for like an energy regen disc 6, but on the Swing Jazz set instead, so that we can proc this 2-piece set. So it would actually look like this. We've got 4-piece Astral and then we've got 2-piece swing jazz. Again, this is something you can consider if you have overstacked on attack. This will definitely happen if you pulled for her signature. This might happen if you use Grace's signature or any other S rank W engine because of the high base attack. You see this 624, S rank 1 over here 684, 684. So yeah, I think the objective is pretty clear in terms of gearing. So with that, let's move on to skills, which is actually really straightforward. Just max everything, go to like 11 all. But if you haven't pre-farmed, if you really need a priority, the top priority is your core skill. We want to push this guy as far as possible because it gives base attack, but it also increases the scaling to get that 1.2k easier. And then from my perspective, the only other skill that really matters is the special attack, the skill. And the reason is because this bad boy is the one that gives the plus 20% damage and the plus 25% crit damage at max. After that, everything else is pretty much secondary. It doesn't really matter. You could argue ultimate is good because it increases the healing, but I mean, like, if you're getting hit, you got other problems to deal with, right? And then for Mindscapes, M1 is actually pretty cool because not only do you do more damage, but you also get a stack of Song of Protection, which is essentially invulnerability for 1 second. So it gives you a little bit of extra proactive sustain. M2 gives you two things, more damage, but also extra anomaly buildup because you get more of the tremolo as well as the tone clusters. M4 is pretty cool because it essentially makes all of your units better, but it only applies to attack, anomaly, and stun. So you can see there is no defense over here. And then we've got M6, which is essentially a shit ton more damage. All right, with that, I think that's everything I wanted to cover off today. I know it was a long video, but again, Astra, she looks really simple, but there is a lot of nuance, especially for every single individual character. She has the potential to change everyone. So let me know how you guys are going with your Astras. Are you finding it hard to get to the 3, 4, 2, 8 attack threshold? I know I struggled a little bit. I had to farm like pretty hard for that one. Or if you guys are having fun with her, or maybe there is actually something I've missed that maybe you want to share with everyone. Or maybe I made a mistake somewhere and you want to not flame me because we are nice people, but kindly correct me. That said though, this is the end of the video. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.